Hey everyone, hello, and it's very exciting to see you guys once again. And 2 weeks before, we talked about the basic concept about React, how you will start a simple React application, and then how you will be building the components as well as like different pieces. And eventually, we were trying to build an application. And few of you already finished the projects, which is very exciting. And those who are have some bag of excuses for not finishing the projects, I will definitely encourage you to finish it, because that's the best way of learning. And so today I will share the screen, and then we will get into the discussion of the uh, advanced level, where you will take a little bit from the previous level and then how you will be building the large application. So I will share my screen, and you would be able to see the share screen. And then let's see whether you should be able to see the screen. And I will just maybe get a confirmation from the organizers that everything looks good. They can see the screen. And so today in the advanced section, what we will talk, we'll talk initially the review of little bit about the previous webinar, well, which application we build, what were the different pieces that we built, and then we will talk about the router, that how you need to build a router and what are the useful things that router solved, and how you can create or add a router in your application. And then eventually we'll talk about the Redux. Redux is the way to go when you are building a large enterprise scale application with React. And then we'll talk about external libraries that you could use for like Bootstrap, material design, or a few other libraries. And finally, we will talk a little bit about React Native. And so first we look into this application that we tried to build last time. And that includes we were building this application where we were able to go to different routes, and we are able to add items to the cart that changes things on the right side. And you can add multiple items. And then whenever you are done, you can review the order in this review order page. And then when you are done, you would be able to place the order, and that will show you something that is completely done. And to start with React Router, the first thing you should do is Google or search something in Google, this React Router. And that will take you to the GitHub page, where you will see that this is a very popular way of adding route to your React application. And then if you go to this link, you will go to their website. And this for this exercise, we'll be doing adding route to our web application. So we'll go to the web, and whenever you're doing a production application, I will encourage you to like go through their documents. This is the best document you can find for React routing. And for now, you should just need to know the basic thing, like how it works, where you can start, and you have a reference, and then you played with it a little bit. And next time when you do a like serious development, you will go through like all the different pieces, but we will touch one or two here just to get started. And if you look into the quick start, the first thing you need to do is to this is the basic steps that we have seen in the step 1. This is the best way to create a React application. What do? You do create install React app, and then you create an app and you go inside. And to do React router, you just need to install React router. And we will quickly see this application that we built. So I will go to the terminal, and I have like a project that we built previously, this one, and I will open it in the code editor. And you'll see that while last 2 weeks, I added a few more component here. So what we had before, we had like our shop component, our create cart component, and then we have like a shop item component, few other component. In the meantime, while you are sleeping or hanging out and working, and then we were doing I added a few other components. So that order review in the website, we were able to go to the order review where we would be able to, after shopping, we add items, maybe one or two, we can go to the review order. So that's the component I have added. For this example, so what I will do, I will quickly install the React router DOM as suggested by their website. So you see, they suggested to install React DOM, and whenever you would be installing this for your project, and you would be pass a flag or save. So if you pass the flag save, it will save the React router DOM for your application. And it will take like few seconds to install the React router DOM. And when we are done, we will go to the code base and then start adding React router DOM in the application. And you'll see that you need to import few things from React router DOM. And so what they are showing here, you can just copy paste from there, because the best secret of being a good developer is to know how to copy paste and then understand what you are copying and why. So we will just import these things that you have browser route, and link. But before understanding or doing this, let's look into what is a route. So what I have here, little bit example of the real world example of routing, that whenever you go to a restroom, because there are different restroom for men and women. So at the one time, you can go, if you are man, you will go to the man restroom. You are women, you will go to the women restroom. That means you are choosing different path or different route based on you or whatever you need. And then you're getting the direction from there. That's why it's like, okay, men's restroom in this direction goes to the left, and women go to the right, because women are always right. So that's the route example. The restroom you choose. If you're a man, you go to the man restroom. That's your route. If you're female, you go to the female one. If you are a confused gender, you can go to a family restroom that you might be like not sure that which one you should use. So that's the core about routing. So we will do exactly the same thing here. So we import few things from React router DOM. We imported the router, browser router, and we just name it as a router. And then route. So router is the main controlling body that sets all the route. And then you have like route, the single path. So whatever we are saying here, this is a single path. This is a one route. This is one route. And then the link if you need it. And for this case, we will do add something called like a switch. Switch, the reason we need a switch import from the React router DOM is because one single time you can go use only one route. That means for this example, if you are going, you can either go this way or you can go another way. In the website as well, you could be one route in a given time. You cannot be two routes at the same time. So we will switch that as we need it. So what we will do, we will do inside of this home. Right now it shows only the home. We will change it to like a router. That's the core part of our router. And inside this, we will do switch. And this switch is just simple as JavaScript switch that you can go to one case. And then we'll define a route. And this route, we can define path, which path you will be going, left, right, or something. The first one we will define as like is as the core. That is like only the slash. And you define a component, and name of the component we imported here is home. So what we did so far, we just set the router, which is the main controlling body for setting route. And then we are switching so that you can go only one route at a time. And what we need to do, we can add few other routes, say left, right, and blah, blah, blah. So since I have like few other component, I would be start importing. So one of the component was like, that I created was like order review. So I will import it from this related path, components, and then I have order review. and then slash order review.js. So I will just import this. And in that case, I would like to go, say, like if you go to another route, say if you go to review, so I will go like path, and that would be slash review. So if somebody types in the website review, I would like them to see the component that is mentioned in the review, order review. So whatever defined in the order review, if they go to the slash review, they will see content of that one. And sometimes, like, people who are using the website could be crazy, could be drunk, and they start typing whatever, and does not might not be a valid route. Like, you are not sure, as a confused gender, you are not sure that whether you will go to the male or female, or maybe you have kids, you need to go to the family one. It's not defined, and that's why pretty much every route has a fallback. That means if you doesn't match any of these, you will go to the star. That means if this doesn't match, and you will go this, and I create a component for this, and that component was like not found. So not found component, I will import not found component that I declared from the here not found. You can see the not found and not found JS. I save this guy, and I will define this is not found. And one extra thing we need to do here is to define another path for the shop, so that like if somebody go to the shop path, then we will allow them to go to this route. That would be slash shop, and it will have the component, the same component. So whenever they don't define any path, we will show them home component, and if even they show them the shop, we will show them the home component. And one last thing we need to do, this is because of a hierarchy. You can look at this path, everybody actually have a slash itself, right? So you will just define this is as an exact. When it is exactly matched with this one, then it will go there. So if we do this, after that we'll go to the our command line and run npm start, and it will take, and then it will open up the browser tab. If I have here, it will open this guy, and let's see, it will take like few seconds to open up this guy. In the meantime, we will make this slower. So you see, like you have some item here, and if I do right now, I have this order review at the bottom. You can see like slash review, and then if you go to the slash review, you see a different page, different outline, and you can go to the shop. If you add to the cart multiple items, and then maybe you scroll down, you add this nice laptop. I think it's very cheap, $279. So you add these items in the cart, and if you go to like order review, and then you will go see like the order review where you can see different options. So this is the route settings. And another thing could be useful here is like, if you click on this, this is a button or any link you want to create inside your application. The router provides few special thing, and one of them is called link. So we'll go to the shop.js, and inside this shop right now, if I click on this order review, it doesn't work, or it doesn't go to like other page because its link doesn't completely work. So what we will do, we'll go to like shop.js. Here we have this button, review your order. You can see like this is the button, review your order. What we can do, we can import link from React Router DOM. So what I will do, import something from React Router DOM, and from there I will import a link. So link is like you are defining a link, and in the bottom, what I will do, I will define a link here. So it is just a simple link, and then link here you can define to which path you would like to go. So I just wrap around this button, and here I will say like, okay, whenever somebody clicks inside this, I would like to go to review path. So if I do this, And if I save this guy, it reloads. And if I click on this, it takes to the review one. So the link one is useful, and that if you want to go route, or if you have like a simple anchor link and that has just changed the path itself. So this one is a simple anchor link, and if you click on this, it will do the route. And right now I didn't build anything for the inventory yet, or even I type like a Jabris or drunk, somebody like this, it will say like, okay, developer is sleeping, and this developer is sleeping is coming from my not found component. So if you go to this not found component, which is here, you'll see this is like 404 and whatever you would like to put, like 404 or something, then you will see that this is 404, developer is sleeping or developer is drinking, whatever you want to mention. So this is a simple introduction to the routing. I will definitely encourage you to, whenever you do, you go through the what are the different items they have and go through this. We talked about like route, router, and the switch we talked about, and there are a few other you can look into. We talked about the link. You can look into other stuff, and it is very powerful, as well as is like mostly used by a lot of developer, and pretty much every React application uses React router. That's good. Now we will go back to like an architecture review of our application that we built, so that we can go to the next part of our session. So what we have here last time is like we have like two major component. One was like home component, this guy, and inside home component, if you go there, we use like two other component. One was like header, another one was like shop. Shop is the place where we will be doing the shopping. So shop is the place where you have this and this guy, and we were managing state in the shop. So that was good. And whenever we go to the order review, we need to carry over the state, because the website in the shop is in one route and the shop in the order review in a different route. And if you go to a different path, you don't have the state on a shop component because you already switched to order review component. So there are multiple ways you can hold or carry the state. One way is like you do use the local storage. That's what I used here. So I used something here is like, if you look into the utilities in this database manager, I use a local storage, and where I was saving, and then so that when you go to like order review component, you can retrieve data from there. So this is one way. And if you are building a medium size application, and this could work for you. Medium, I mean like if you have like 3 or 4 different route and you have like 3 or 4 level depth of component. So that's what is the medium. And so far, if you have any question, feel free. There is the organizers send a link. You can put your question over there, and then at the later end of this session, we will go through all the question and discuss about this. And if you don't have any specific question, you can ask any interesting question as well. For example, how could I propose my colleague, if you're interested about colleague, or something else. But if you ask any question related to React and Redux, we'll definitely address those, or an interesting question if you have, that will do. And other question would be like when we should use Redux, or when we should use local storage, or how I will design the component. So I give you 3 questions. If you can think of any, just put those 3 questions. So we looked into a little bit about different pieces that we worked. We have like bunch of components here, and one was inside another, those way we were using. So we have like, I would say like we have like 9 components here. And if we look into a little bit in the nice thing here, that the architecture review highway, what we have in the core, we have like app component, and inside app, we have like a home, which control have the shop, and shop has 2 things, shop item and the cart. So here, this is, if you go to the shop, you will see this is the shop item. These are repeating, as well as have the cart. And inside shop item, you could have like add to cart button and features. So Right now, this could be an hypothetical structure of the application. It doesn't 100% match with the application, but think about this is an application that where we have this and we have a state in the shop, so that anybody add to the cart, we can manage the how many items you added it to the cart, and then we can show total cart here. But our problem was if we go to a different route in the order review, how we'd be passing those state to this part of the application because they are not currently selected. What we can do, we can move the state another level up in the shop, in the app level, and in that case, state could be crazy because the state is coming from like 5 different places, a lot of different click handler and those kind of handler or switching the methods, and it could be crazy long and complicated too. And so one way we solve this is like, this is the problem when we want to communicate this action to a multiple piece of the component. This is a similar structure of the hierarchy, and we solve it by using the local storage. So whenever you change something, we in the local storage, and we are showing it here. And but if we have like a problem like this, we can ask for the help of these superheroes to come with like a better solution, so that like it becomes like more robust and helpful for us. And then what we can do, we can go to the Redux, and we say like when you'd be using the Redux, that when you have like a very large application, maybe 5 level deeper in the component, nested component one inside another, or maybe you have like 5+ routes or a very complex state, or you are a larger team, like more than like maybe 5 developer or more than 3 developers working in the same application for months. And one warning is that the application, for the demo purpose, I intentionally keep it very simple so that like you don't get to the lost. But if you are building only smaller application, you might not need Redux. Redux will be larger application, but for simplicity, I will show a smaller example, and you will see that how Redux works. If you start building Redux, first thing you need a store. A store is a holder of the state. So previously we have a state into different components that in our previous workshop we saw, and we'll put everything together in a store. And in a Redux application, you only have one store. That means you can have only one store, and that's why it becomes like a single source of truth. That means like whatever changes, you just need to check only one place. So that's one thing you need to remember. Like this one, previously you have all these messy cases. Now anybody wants to access the current state of your states, they will go to the store and get the state. And if you want to change it, you will change it to the store. So one central place for the store. And second thing is like action. Actions means like user do something, user activity. Say user clicked on a button or user changed something. Those are the action. So action always be an object, like you can see the code here, and it will must have a type, and then it will have some data. And the type, this is a practice in Redux, that you will declare the type with all caps as if it's a constant. And then any other data, like if you're creating a to-do item, you will do like, okay, this is my text. To-do is like take 8 bathroom breaks in the full day while I'm in office. So this is some way for you to relax. And so this is your to-do. And action usually wrapped around a function that's called action creator. That creates, if you call the function, what it will do, it will just return you the action. So this is some ES6 arrow function where you declare this add to do name of the function. You take a parameter text and you return an object. Since you're returning an object, you have to wrap around with a single parenthesis, and the type is add to do, and the text, the input parameter, they will get it. So this is one core part of Redux. The first one was store, second was the action. And action, whenever action is done, you have to like dispass the handover or send the action. So you send the action to the store, hey, this thing happened, somebody clicked, or somebody did something, or somebody yelled at me, something like that. And then something called reducer. It's a hard name. What we have done so far, actions describes that something happened, like you added a to-do or somebody yelled, but it didn't tell us that how this will affect the state or how you will change the state, like what exactly changes in the state is not defined in your action. If you look at the action again, it just tells this is happened, but what it will do, it will go and add something there or change something or whatever we need to define inside the reducer. So reducer will tell you that state, how state will change, that you will define in the reducer. So this is something like if you added to do, you will, this guy is a very interesting way to copy the current state. So whatever the state you had before, you will copy 3 dot. This is like JavaScript ES6 way to copy the state, and then the new to do you just added it. Maybe you will do like that, come from the action or something. We'll look into this as an example later. So this was you are doing, you have an action and you dispatch the action, then you pass the action and it goes through the reducer. Reducer knows that because of this action, what thing has to be changed, and it goes in the store and change the state. So if we look back, the concept of understanding Redux is necessary. So an action is a plain JavaScript object. It will say like what happened. You added a to-do, or you added an item on your shopping cart, or you deleted somebody, or you blocked somebody from Facebook, whatever. This is the action. And then you have to, then you can call the store dispatch. That means dispatch this action from anywhere in your app. And then Redux store will do whatever the reducer says. Okay, reducer says for this action, I should do this. I should not display, for example, your action was blocking your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. So reducer will decide, okay, I will not show any post update from his or her ex, kind of things. And then the root of the reducer, if you have like multiple reducer, you can combine them together. We'll look into an example while we'll be seeing at the code. And Redux store saves the complete state. So that means complete state of your store would be saved there. So let's implement Redux. So what we will do, we will create an application. And before doing that, as usual, whenever I'm learning something new, first thing I do, I will just search for Redux doc, or you can go for like a Redux or search for Redux, and you will go to like a this is the README Redux, or you can go to the GitHub too. And this doc again, for this example, is nice, simple. You get the introduction, but if you're doing a serious development, I will recommend you to like go through this and in your free time. Whenever you need to do. So as usual, Redux, it has like all the content. You can look into this. We will create a new application. So what we'll do, we'll go to our terminal and then close this guy. And then we will go to maybe one level up. And we know previously that the way we created an React application, we'll do the same way. So those who were not paying much attention in the first webinar or were sleeping or missed, you can look into this here again. So to create a React application, we do create React app and we give it a name, say like a Redux to do. And it will take a few minutes to install everything is needed. And in the meantime, if you need to do anything else, like 1 minute break, maybe if you want to check your Facebook status, anybody send you a message, you can check it. But don't open your official email right now, because your manager will get notified that you opened the mail, and then why you didn't reply it, he will ask you a question tomorrow. So do whatever you want to do in 1 minute. Why create React app is like starting an application, but don't check your office email in this time. And while this is done, we will close this editor, because we will be opening one for this one. And let's see, this guy, we might not need this. And it's giving maybe like longer time to install. Okay, it's done. And it tells us that what exactly we need to do. We need to go to inside Redux to do. So we'll go to cd Redux to do, and then there we will open a code editor so that we can edit whatever we need to do. And here I am using Visual Studio Code. And last time I showed you that I have few extensions. Here, just very few that helps me to make React build easy. One of them is like React code snippet. So if you just go to extension and search for it, here you search. If you after clicking on this, you'd be able to install it. Another one is like Path Intelligence. This is also helpful because I can tell me where the path or the file exists. Another one I just added it was like npm intelligence. So this one is also helpful if you're adding something from npm modules. Anyway, so whenever we created an application, what it gives us a few things. One is like app.js. This is the core part of the application. And if you just see the code running, let's see the code running, we just need to type. They told us that npm start. So we'll do npm start, and that will open our application here. So by default, they gave us few smaller thing. So for example, it gives us like an welcome to React, as well as like get started some topic. So what React, this is your main React part, and you do inside in your JavaScript, and eventually finally you put this to the DOM inside in the index.js. If you look into the index.js, what it did, it imported React DOM. This is the place where you take your application, the app.js, which we saw here, app.js. This is the app.js, and then we put this to the DOM in this file. You see, you put in this file, and that's what we are doing. And if you want to change something here, say for example, I change this guy and I save it. By default, it will be get rid of this lower part, and I will get rid of this, like it has an image logo. So I will get rid of this one, and I will get rid of this logo because I'm not using it anymore. And here I will create an h1, and I will give a name, Relax to do, and this will come here, that Relax to do. And then what I can do, I will create a component. So the way we create a component inside the source tab, if I want to create a folder, I can click on this guy, and I will create a components folder. And inside components, I will create a component. I will give it a name, add to do. And so the way I would like to have is like you will have an input box where you will type something, and you will have a button to add those to do. And we will create inside this add to do .js. And since I have the code snippet for the React, I can type just RCC, and it gives me this snippet, so that if I tab it right now, it creates the full template. I start typing, it will change add to do. I tab it again, it takes the mouse pointer here, and I will type input. It will go here, and then I would like to add a button, and inside I just like add. So this is the component that I just created, but it will not be displayed here until I bind it or add it in the app.js. Like if you are like a introvert developer and sitting in the corner of the office, and nobody will call you for the lunch unless you go there or somebody brings you as a team. So you could be introvert, lonely developer in the corner, and you will not have happy time with your team unless somebody call, hey, let's go for lunch or something, or let's go together. So we'll do exactly the same thing here. We will import, maybe I will do it here, import, and we will import add to do. And we will import add to do from, I know inside I have like a components folder. This is like Path Intelligence helps me. And then I have add to do, and then I have add to do.js. And here I will put like add to do. So all this we did is like basic React way of like adding something here. We just do, and this time it doesn't do anything. So now our goal is to put Redux in this React application. And to put React, we need to put, like you saw, like few things we need to do. We need to create a store. We need to put some action. We have to put reducer. And for this size of application, in a practical case, you might not need Redux. But for large application, you will need absolutely Redux. Redux is the way to go. And maybe like 90% of the large application use Redux. So I'm just showing you how it works. So first thing we will do, we need to install Redux. And a lot of people, including me, I thought like, okay, Redux is just only for React. But that's not the case, because Redux is a standalone application. It gives you a nice way to manage state. It is not dependent on React. Rather, it is a separate application, and to bind or to integrate Redux with React, you need to install another library that is called React Redux. Similar way, you can use Redux with Angular. You can use Redux for other application too. That whichever application have a state, application state, and you want to manage it, and that you can use Redux. Even you can use Redux with jQuery as well. So we will install two things. So first we will go to this guy, and we'll close this execution, Control-C, or you can open a different tab if you want, and you will install npm install. First, you need to install Redux, and don't forget to like save this guy so that later or somebody get this, they will have the Redux. So this one is quicker. It takes like less than 10 seconds in the last time I built. So let's see how does it goes. No, it passed 10 seconds. Okay, but this is fairly quicker. And second thing we need to do is to like React Redux. So basic React as Redux, as well as the way we would like putting things together, is called React Redux. So we'll do this. React Redux, these are the two things we need to install. And then what we will do, we will start adding items, integrating Redux here. And we will keep this npm start. And then whenever we'll keep the server running as we'll be doing this work. So that's good. So far, nothing. And we'll do, first we'll go to the place where we are integrating things with app. So first thing we need to do, we need to import bunch of things from Redux as well as React Redux. So first thing we will do, we will import something called create store from Redux. So Redux gives a way to create a store, because for your managing your state in your application, you need to have a store, and the way you will create a store is just calling this create store. And here we will create like a constant store, and then we will use create store, and then you will see it will give you some intelligence that you need to pass a reducer. If you don't pass any reducer, it will throw an exception. So we will keep it like a to do here, that okay, pass reducer. That's good. Second thing, we need to integrate, because this is a React application, we need to integrate React with Redux. So that's why we will do import, and we will import from React Redux, and from there they give us something called provider. So provider is a wrap around your React application, that like in the parent of your React application, so that everything inside application has glued together. So every state in other component you can have access together. So what we will do, we will create here like a provider tag, and then we will close the provider tag, and we'll put this guy inside the app. So we do this, and while we are doing the provider, we need to pass the store. So we'll just pass store, and the value of the store would be this constant we created. And remember, we didn't completed this guy, so we will need to do other stuff. We need to create reducer. Reducer is the changes that will happen to the store whenever some action happens. That means first we need to create some action. So we'll do there, and then first thing we'll do, go to the source, and we'll create a folder, and we'll give it a name called actions. And inside this, we will create a file, say to do actions.js. And there we will create few actions. So what are the action will be happening when somebody create a to do? So first thing we will need to do, maybe let next to do ID, and we'll start with 0. That means every time you need a unique identifier, and every time you add one, we will increase it. And we will maybe export this constant and add to do. This is the action, and action is a plain object, and we will do take a, this is a function, is like who is creating the action or action container, and we will take an input of the text. That means the value you will provide in this, that what are the text you want to add in your to do. And then what we will do, we will, from this function, we want to return an object, because action is a plain object. So that's why we put like parentheses. If you just simply put these curly braces, then JavaScript will think you are just, this is like multi-line of function, that's why you put this. So you need to do single parenthesis and then curly braces. Inside this, you are creating an action. An action has one condition, that you have to have a type, and that type will be, the type of the actions is like add to do, always all caps. That's the best practice. And some people create constant to put like action here, but for simplicity, we will just write here type add to do, and then whatever the data you want to pass. For this one, you are creating an action, so we'll need an ID of this to do, and the ID would be your next to do, whatever your next to do, and we will increase a value. So you will have an ID which is like one number increased by everyone you're adding, and finally you need the text. So you can like type text equals to text, or ES6 way. If you're lazy, you can just type this. This means like this is taking the property name would be text, and value would be whatever the value of the text. So this is your first action. Very simple. What we did just have a counter for the ID, and then we did have a action. This is the name of the function. We take an input as a text, and we create an action, is definitely an object. We need a type and add to do, and then we have an ID next to do plus, and then pass this. So action part is done. Second part we need to do is add reducer. Okay, that's very simple. We'll go to the source, we'll create another folder called reducers. And inside reducers, we will do, so reducers for large application, if you have like a lot of reducers, you might break it down into multiple files. So we will do the same way. So we will do maybe one as like to-dos.js. And here you will reduce. That means like what are the things you need to do when somebody add an action. So you'll do maybe like a constant to-dos, and you will take, for this to-dos, whenever you do the reducer, you need to take two parameters. First thing is the state, and by default, the state would be empty array. This is like ES6 way to define by default value of your function. So if you don't pass anything state, it will take empty array as a state, and then you will take action. That means whatever the action they do, because the reducer needs to do changes based on the action. So we did this, and then now we do some arrow function ES6, and if you could have like multiple actions here, but one time user will click on one button or something. So that's why usually you do a switch inside it. And if I go to this like an code snippet switch, it will give me like a structure of the switch, which is like you can type yourself as well. And we need to do switch based on action dot type, because remember every action will have a type. That's what we declared here. So that's why we switch based on the type, and the first one would be our add underscore to do. So whenever you add a to do, we will come here, and what we'll do, we'll return something from here, and from the return, what we'll do, we will, whatever the state you pass, if it could have like 1 or 2 before, we'll copy it. And this 3 dot is a nice or simple way to copy an array in JavaScript. So if you pass like 3 dot in front of any JavaScript array, it will copy or dump all the elements in the array inside this array. And then since you are adding one item or one to do, we will add another item in this array we are declaring. So this array will have like an ID. That ID will be coming from action dot ID, because you see like in the action we are passing has an ID, also have a text. So what we'll do, ID, that would be action dot ID, and then it will have some text as well, that would be action dot text, and we will add one extra property called completed. And when you're just creating, you are not done with the task at the time of creating. So that's you need to do in the reducer. And 2 other things we need to do. First thing is, when your action doesn't exist, the reducer always returns something. So either it will return the change state or the provided state if it doesn't match with any of the case. Otherwise Redux will give you a warning. So to avoid this, we'll do return state. And since your default will return in this statement, this one will not execute anyway. So your lint might say, okay, this is unreachable code. So what we did, look at, we switch based on the action. We will add few other action later. And then whenever you are adding a to do, we are copying all the previous to do by using 3 dots, and then the new one you are adding here. And that's we do here. And think about, you have like this is to do's, you might have another set of reducers, and you would like to add a like a index.js where you would be combining all the to do's. So what we'll do, we will import something from the Redux to combine. So from Redux, you will be importing, say, combine reducers. And what we'll do maybe constant to do app, and this to do app will take will be combine reducers. And what you will do, and it takes the reducers that you added. So it takes like reduce this that you want to combine. So what we will do, we will import the to-dos that the reducer we added here. So import, and then we will import this guy from there. So from, and since we want to import to-dos from there, we have to export it from here. If we don't export from here, the ES6 module will not get that. So we'll do export, and we will export default. This would be the default value. So if we want to get a default, and that would be to-dos. So we do this, and here we will import from, and this is in the same location, to-dos here. And what we'll do, we will just import to-dos. And here, when we are combining reducers, we will pass here, and then you will pass the to-dos. So this is the way you will be combining. If you have like multiple other to-dos, you will put together. Let me grab some water in the meantime, and we'll start in a minute. Okay, so I have this like our reducers, and since we would like to, our eventual goal is to combine it or pass it to the index.js where we created the store. And to have this available, we need to export it, and export is like export default to do app. We have the reducers from here. Now we'll go to this index where we have like pass reducer. So we need to import the reducer here, which is like import. And maybe since we have the default, we can give it a name like a reducer from, we will do like in the reducers, we have index. So index, if you have like index.js inside the folder, you don't need to mention like the file name. If you don't have the index, then you have to need to mention the file. So we did this part, and let's see whether we get any warning. So we get one warning, is that like, what's the warning? Create store pass. Oh, we didn't pass anything yet. We just imported it. So let's pass the reducer. Unless you see, like if we don't pass a reducer, store doesn't know what it will do upon. That's why it says like, okay, you need to pass, store doesn't have anything, so you need to pass a reducer. That's why it broken here. So we save this guy. Let's see whether we get any other warning. So we didn't get any warning. Let's go to the inspect anything. So everything looks cleaner. So we got a Redux setup so far. We have the store, we have the actions, we have the reducers, and we connected together. And we need to do one last thing to have this working in the add to do. And right now, if I do type something here, it doesn't do anything. So we need to few other steps to make it working. So first thing we go to add to dos. We need to connect this component with the Redux. And if you just do here for now is like say console log, and then these dot props. Right now you will say just an empty object. It doesn't have anything. So if it comes there, you see like this is an empty object. It doesn't have anything. Okay, so we need to connect it so that we have a way to dispatch our action and give some data to it. And to do it, right now we are doing inside a component that we are using, but this is not the best way to combining together. The best way of combining we will explain a little later after we get this one working. So this is not the best practice, but for explaining the concept, I'm doing it. So first thing you need to do, you need to import somebody to connect. And that would be importing from the connection done by React Redux. So we'll import from React Redux from this guy, and we'll call something called connect. And what we need to connect? We need to connect an action, because whenever you click on this, an action will happen. Now we need to import the action. So what action we have? We know all the actions inside our actions folder, which is inside this actions folder. So we'll go from this. Right now I am in add to do, so I have to go like to level up, and level up is easier. You just climb the ladder and you go to the actions. You have the to do action.js, and here you will think like add to do, and here you have the add to do action. You have a connect. Now since we have the connect, we need to do connect this add to do with React Redux. And you can do a simple way. You will do like add to do that will connect to this add to do. So this line might looks a little weird. Ignore this right side. The left side, what is doing is connecting add to do to this. And right now we don't need to pass a special method. In the later example, we'll pass any special method, and this connect returns another function where we use this. And then we do define the right side to the same name. So that's like an easier. We could have like a something else, add to do tutu, and we put like add to do tutu here, but that's fine. We'll do this. Now if you save this guy, you will see here you have something called object and has a dispatch. That means you find a way to dispatch something in your props. So React Redux put dispatch here, and this is simple warning. It would be gone because right now we importing add to do this action. We are not using it. So just hold on a minute we will be using it. So let's close this guy, and we will do like an on click, the same thing we did before in our previous example. On click in our first workshop, we do the on click. What it will do, you will have, this is the way you are binding, and you are binding as a inside a function. If you put like an arrow function, so I'm declaring an arrow function here, and since you don't pass any variable, you put like 2 parentheses, and this is the body of the click handler. What we will do, we have dispatch in our properties because we are console logging this dot props. So what we can do, we do like this dot props dot, we have dispatch. So we do like a dispatch, and what will dispatch? Will dispatch an action. It says you have to pass an action. The IntelliSense tells you need to pass an action, and we got the action is like add to do. So and we put some hard-coded text right now, say like ADD whatever. Later we will get from input text. So we save this guy, and whenever we click on this to prove that this action is going to the reducer, dispatching and coming to the reducer, we will get this console log so that it doesn't do the console here, and we will go to like reducers. So we'll go to our reducer for here, that is to do reducer. Here before the return, we'll do a console log and the action. So if the action comes here, then we will know that it is dispatching the action and is retrieved or getting to the reducer. So we do like whatever we type, it doesn't matter. It will take the hard-coded text that we put inside this method. We'll make this dynamic in a minute. But you see it coming inside the reducer. It's like todos.js4, and this is the place we're logging. So if you do multiple, it goes to dispatch. So we need to do like few other things. We would like to display those things here, but first let's make this dynamically adding the text based on the what we have providing, so other than like ADDD all the times. So to do this, this is a React thing, no relation with Redux. You do pass a reference to an input. So it's like say my input, and what you can do, you can get the value of my input here. Instead of hard text, you can say like, okay, these dot refs is the references, and then you give the name of the reference where I have my input is the reference I just gave here for this input, and I know it has a input has a value. Now I save this guy and I type ASDF. You see that text changes here. If you can see this, I make it a little bigger. And if I tell like, okay, QRTW, whatever, and you see QRT coming. So we are getting the text from the input. That's fine. Now our goal is to display the add to do here. And we'll do in a nice or the best way the Redux recommend, or the best way you do the Redux. To know that, we will go to the slide little bit here. And then while we're implementing, we already did install Redux and React Redux. And what we'll do, we do something called container. What container does, say like this component, what we did here, we polluted this add to do. We put like Redux here. So this guy, if we change our store, even if we don't use Redux, cannot use it. Or even if we take it to like in other application, we cannot use it because it's tied to this action, tied to this Redux. So that's why the idea came is called smart and dumb component. So these are called presentational, or these are called like a dumb components at the bottom. What they do, they doesn't have any clue about store, doesn't have any clue about Redux. They are passing, just somebody pass the property to them and they use it. This is the way that Redux works, and that's how it works. And even if you have events, event goes there, but the connection with Redux maintained by the container. That's what Redux does. So this is your sometimes called smart component. It knows about the store. This is the dumb component. It doesn't do anything, or it does what it needs to do, but it doesn't know about Redux or how you're managing the state or store. is somebody give this data and it just displays it. That's it. So we'll create our first DOM component, and we'll go to inside components, and we will create a folder. And what we would like to see here, we'd like to see a to-do and a container for all to-dos. So we'll create two DOM component that doesn't know anything about state. So first one we will create is called like to-do. This would be like every single line of your to-do, and we will create a simple file here inside it that would be todo.js. And since we have the snippet, we can type rcc, we tab, we write like to-do, we tab, and this would be a simple paragraph. And then this paragraph will, as if somebody is passing a simple property by text. So this dot props dot text. So that's all it does. If somebody pass it as like a property of text, and we will show it by using these two curly braces. That's it. So that's pretty much what we need to do right now on this. And we need a container where we will put all the to-dos will be repeating here. So we'll create another component, and that component is like to-do list. And we will create another component here, to-do list.js. And we do rcc as usual. That would be our to-do list. And here, as if this is also a DOM component, doesn't know about Redux, so we'll do map around these dot props as if somebody giving us bunch of to-dos, and we are just mapping, repeating, and creating item on this. Then for every item, we will create a row of to-do. So that's why we need to import to-do here, because to-do is in this component, another file. We will import it. Import to-do from, we'll just go like an one level up, and then we have the to-do, go down to-do.js, and we will create inside this. So we'll do like repeating variable. That map variable is to-do, and inside this we will do the arrow one, and then we create a to-do, and then we will close this to-do. So slash to-do, this is the to-do. And if you are repeating the items that we saw in our first webinar, where if you're repeating, you better to provide a key. So we provide a key, and then key would be every to-do has an ID, because whenever you are creating the to-do, we provide an ID, and you can see like ID 0, ID 1, and that is unique. And any key you want to pass unique thing, that would makes React perform better. And second thing you need to do, you need to pass the properties of your to-do. And you can pass separate property as you want. Okay, this would be text, this would be ID, those kind of thing. Or a simple way is to put this curly bracket and then 2, 3 dot, and then to-do. What it does, it actually copies all the properties. So whenever you do 3 dots, it copy everything from there, and then it gets passed towards that. So that would be gone there. Now we got our DOM component. Right now, they don't have any relation with Redux. So we will create the container one. This is the container that will do talk with Redux. So all the container is common practice. You will put a different folder. So we'll do like containers. And inside containers, we will create one. We'll call it like a visual to-do list. So this is our, that one was our component to-do list. This is just a presentational to-do list. And here, what we will do, those connection that we did in add to-do, if you remember this here, we did the connection. We'll do it in a nicer way in our visual to-do list. So, and visual to-do, I need to make it as like a JavaScript file .js. Otherwise, I can't write anything there. The first thing we will do in the visual to-do list, we will import something from like the connect, because we need to connect, and the connection is done by React Redux. So we'll do import, and from React Redux that we did before, we will just import the connect. That's how we will be connecting. And we'll be connecting with some other items. So the first thing is a nice way to write is like, it says constant map state to props. So whatever you have the state, like in your application state, we want to map it to the properties so that you can access those through properties. And this method, this is just a method. It takes an state as a parameter, and inside it you just create an object, and that will tell you like whatever the states you want to get. So since your reducer named is to-dos, you will make this as a to-dos too, and you will get it to like a state.todos. So that's how you will be passing whatever in the state as a property named to-dos. So this is the mapping. Later we'll come back and do other mapping too here, but right now we just need only one to get going, and we will make a like an make the connection here. So that we will do, I will give it a like a visible to-do list, and that would be by using the connect. Since the connect, previously we didn't pass anything. Right now we will pass a parameter as a like a map state to props, and then we will do map it to the to-do list. That is our dump component of the container. So what I will do, I will here import. I need to import the dump component, which is like our to-do list from. And we know if we go there, we have the components, and then we have like to-do list, this to-do list.js. So now we will combine this with our to-do list. And if I do this, then it's like connection happens in a smart component. And inside this to-do doesn't know anything about Redux, and we will just export this. We will export default, and we'll do like a let's make it like a visual, so that it's like same name as the file, visual. So file name and the item inside, if it is the same name, it helps, like other than sometimes could confuse people. Visual to-do list. So this is the simple. And now we will go back to our app.js. That's what is like when you display something with in your application. We'll go to the app.js, and here ideally we would have like imported like add to-do list here. Since that is our dump component now, so we will import the smart component here. So we'll do import from, and we know that this is inside containers, and we have like visual to-do list, and here we want to import visual to-do list. So here we will show like visual to-do list, and I will save it, and everything works so far, and that's impressive. And my mom this morning told me that don't make any typo while you are demoing. If I didn't do it, if it doesn't break while I would be adding, my mom would be really proud of me. Let's see whether I can make my mom proud. So I add something, say like sleep more. That's my to do. Add it. Oh, it's added it. That means I didn't do any typo. I will do a quick review of what we have done so far. But whenever we add something, we might want to clean this, but we'll do that. Sleep more, eat less, and then watch videos or webinar or something like that. So this is kind of working. So what we did to do this, first we thought about what would be our dump component, what would be our smart component. We created two dump component. First one was our to-do component. That was just simple. It doesn't know anything about Redux. Then we created another one called to-do list. It doesn't know anything Redux. You are just passing as a properties. Then we created like a smart component, visual to-do list. It does the mapping between your Redux by using the React Redux component, and this is your smart component. If you do this, then you are telling it, okay, whatever is in the state, pass it in the to-dos. That's why it's passing it there. We are able to do it. Now we want to do one or two other small stuff like cleaning this text when you after adding the items. So we'll know we are adding it in our and there is a question. I will look into the question. Let me go to the add to do. we'll go to like an add to do JS. Here we would like to, and the question that asked on the Prashad asked that, can you refresh the to-do list once? So if you want to just refresh, they would be gone. And the reason they would be gone because I'm not having those stored somewhere. So stored, whatever means stored, is completely saved on your database. Stored is in your browser that you are maintaining your application. If you completely reload the application, stored would be gone. So store is your application state. It's just way to managing. If you reload the page, this would be gone. And here, anyway, come back to this. And if you have any question, you can ask in the live chat, and that will interrupt. Otherwise, you will post those in your Excel, and we will go through after we are done this discussion. So what we'll do, we would like to clean this one. So we know this is the text we are getting. So a simple way is like, when you click on this, we will set this to an empty string. So if you do this, then it reloads. And then if you add something, you see this input text box is clear. So this is what we do. Now what we'll do, we'd like to do one more action so that it gives you like review of how we are doing the adding the actions, adding things in the reducers, as well as how you do the event too, event handling with Redux. So if you click on this guy, we will like to like, okay, this one is done or something like this. So first thing we will do, we'll go back to our actions folder, and we have like to do action. We will add another action, and that would be export and constant toggle to do. And since you'll be toggling, and you need to know maybe the ID, ID of the which are items you clicked, so that we can do some work based on that. So we'll pass in ID, and what we will do, we will return from there is that would be an object as usual, and always you will need a type. So here it would be toggle underscore to do uppercase, and then you will pass the ID. So if you pass the ID, then it will get those. So what we need to do later, then we need to use this to match with reducer. And before doing that, we have to tell the reducer what to do when somebody toggle a to do. So we will go to our reducers, wherever is the reducers here, add to dos. So here it came for like add to do. We can take out this console log, and we will add another case here. So the case here would be toggle to do. So case would be toggle to do. And then here, what you will do when you toggle to do, you will return all the items in your to-do list and only change the item you unclicked. So whatever you clicked, we want to cross this, something like that, or mark them as a completed. So we will do state dot map. That means we'll look through it, and everyone will give it to do, and we will have an arrow function. And inside this arrow function, what we'll do, we will do some condition, and the condition would be, if when you're looping through each item, we will check whether this item in the loop has the same ID of the action type we were passing an ID, because you see we have like we are passing an ID in the action. So here we will do like if to-do.id is equals to action.id. In that case, if it is same, then we will return a to-do that has mark or change completed to be completed, or we'll just toggle it. So, and to do the way we will do it is like, say, put the question mark, and we'll pass a like a object. And since we want to like a copy every property from here, we can type like, okay, this will have a text that would be to-do.text. We can type like this would be ID, that would be to-do.id. And if you have something else, you can type all this way. Or a simple way, you can type 3 dot. 3 dot, if you do in front of an object, it will copy every property of the object. And here, if you put 3 dots before an array, it will copy every elements of the array. So this is a nice way of like copying every properties in the new object. And what you will do, we will mark completed, so we'll update it, and it will just change the bit. That means to do completed. If it was before was true, it would become false. If it was false, it would become true. And then you have to add like or condition, and in other case you will just pass the to do. So what we are doing is, it's not very complicated, it's very simple. We are running a for loop, we're passing a to do variable, and if this current to do we are looping through has the same as the action we want to do, we will copy rest of the things and change completed the property values. Otherwise, if it doesn't match, otherwise we'll just pass it. I said, okay, let's go, you don't need to change anything there. So that's our toggle to do case. We do this. Now we define the reducer. Now we need to connect it. So if we do the connection, and the connection is done by visual to do. So what we'll do, previously we had map state to props. Now we will match, we will have a constant map dispatch EATCH to props. So whatever the dispatching, any action you want to map it, and this one is just a simple object, and you will define that what would be your dispatch, what would be your action. That would be like, say, on to do click. If somebody to do click, what you want to do, you want to click the action of like toggle to do, and that action we already declared inside our action to do actions here. We already declared this one, so we'll just bring that guy here, import, and we will import something from we go to actions, we have like to do actions, and from here we will just import toggle to do. So we'll tell, hey, whenever somebody calls on to do click, we will just dispatch the action toggle to do. So this is the connection, and here we need to pass during the connection. So maybe we'll break it down into like different lines, like this, and then maybe we'll pass another. You can pass as many as you need to. So I will do like a map dispatch to props. So now the this on to do click would be there. So before doing this, let's go to like our to do list one, and then do a console log of props. So console log these dot props. If we save it, you will see you have like a to-dos array that was passing before, and it has a dispatch. Just a general dispatch will be passing to anywhere, and you can pass it from there. But that we were doing from the at to do. But if you call dispatch from your item that you are doing, you are not making it dumb anymore. You're making it smart. So we would like to keep it as dumb as possible. Like all the employer or the manager wants to make your people as dumb as possible, so that they can enjoy vacation while keeping you busy. And if you go vacation, they keep you calling and those kind of thing. Anyway, we'll not go to that route. Here we will do just pass the on click. So now what we'll do, we'll just save this guy, because this dispatching we didn't save it, this didn't reflect it. If we save this guy, you will see like on to do click is added it as a properties. That's why mapping dispatch to props is working. So if you have anything you want to provide to your DOM component, you map it here. That's what it's doing exactly here. And now we can use it in our to-do list as if we have like a click handler here. So what we will do, we'll do like, say, if we'll pass a on click method. This is we are passing into the to do component. So on click, and what we'll do, we will have a method here, and that method maybe we will inside this we'll pass don't wipe out everything. Okay, here we will do like, say, if somebody calls on this, what we will do, we will call this dot props, because every props has a on to do click, on to do click. And on our to do click, on to do click is our action of like, action is like toggle to do. And if you look into this takes an parameter of ID. So we need to pass an ID. We'll just do like todo.id because every todo has an ID. So this is the method. On the click handler, we are passing it to the todo, and we need to call it from the todo. So the last thing we will do, we'll go to like our todo component, todo.js, and here we will have like a click handler. And if you look into this, let's get rid of these props, and we will come here and we'll see like console log and these dot props. So if you see it right now, you'll see you will have an on click. Whenever you have an item here, you add it, you see it has an on click. So we will just put it very simple way, on click. You have done this maybe 100 times, and these dot props dot on click. So whenever somebody clicks, just call this guy. So what we'll do now, you'll see in the console log, then we'll change a visual behavior. If you add it, you'll see right now it's completed is false. If you click on this, you see like completed becomes true. If it is do, that means we do in the reducer told him that toggle it, but it's not completed. That means it will, if it is true, it make it false. If it is false, it is true, like changing decision about like about where you will go for date. You make change decision, or where you will have lunch. This is what is the toggle does. It's just toggling the changes. So we'll do a simple visual change here, and that will explain that how you would be change style in a component. So what we will do, we'll have a style, and we'll put in a curly braces. So anything you want to bind, you put in a single braces, and this was like a property or a method you want to bind. If you want to bind an object, so that means you will put inside this curly braces, you will put another curly braces. The second braces is for just for the object. And what we'll do, we'll pass like a style related information here. So the text decoration in CSS, you will put like text hyphen decoration. In React, this is just all React thing, no relation with Redux. You just put the upper cases whenever is the hyphen, and then you will pass a condition here that whenever these dot props dot completed, you see they have the completed here, completed is true, then you will do a style of like line through. That means you will cross it out, and otherwise you have to put the negative cases, it would be none. If you save this guy, it would be like, if I do the add this guy, it will add. If you toggle it, it goes. If I have some other, you will see like it crosses out whenever you have like toggles out, it puts the crossing over this. So this is the simple introduction of Redux, so that like you just understand the core part of it. The core has like three things. First one, you need a unique store that you need to create. Second, you need to create actions that would be like a definition of what people did or what happened. And number three, you need to do reducer, that what exactly will change, how state should react based on that. So these are the three things you need to know about Redux. And to integrate Redux with React, you need to use React Redux. So that's pretty much about React Redux. We will now quickly look into a different library here. And that's like few frameworks. So we'll go to like a third part of our application. And this is some definition or difference between like a container component and the lower part, or the DOM component, is presentation. So let's go through it quickly. That purpose for the presentation is like how things will look like our to-do list. And this is container is our visual to-do list. It is like how things will work, how we'll do the data fetching, the state update. And if Redux presentation, the DOM component doesn't know about Redux exists, is just only simple React, but the container knows. And you read data in the presentation from props. That's what we have been doing. We passed method or everything through props and using it. And here in the container, it's subscribed to the Redux state. That's why we do the mapping, map state to props. And the change data, you call back to the props. That's what we did like on click. And here, this guy will do the dispatch part. Dispatch part doesn't have any relation with the presentation, and these are written by yourself. This is generated by Redux. So that's all we've been doing. Like, let's learn Redux, and then let's do a little bit about other framework, which is the third part of today's talk. And so there are few framework, and one of these like related to like similar to the bootstrap and called like Material UI. And if you search for Material UI, and you will go to a nice website, and this is very popular, and you can go to the GitHub page as well. And what it does, it gives you some ready-made component to make a fancy website. And if you go to the their GitHub page, it will tell you how you need to install, and you just need to npm install Material UI, and you might need to save that guy. And it gives you a lot of few components. We will look into say like maybe few things. Here, if you go to the left side, you will see like get started and components. It has bunch of components like app bar. If you want to add some app bar, how you will to do that. So let's install it first and see how we can change it. So we'll go back to the command line. We'll Control C to stop it, and npm install. We will save this guy, and that would be Material UI. And it will save it in your application. And in the meantime, while it is saving, we'll look into some of the document here. What you need to do, you need to wrap around your app by use like MUI, that is like Material UI theme provider. So they provide a theme provider for your application. You just need to wrap your application to this component. If you do this, that will do rest of the work. So this is done. We'll do npm start. That will start the application. And the theme provider you can bring from this Material UI style and theme provider. So we do save this guy, and then we go to here, and we'll go to our app.js here. Maybe we'll wrap everything around this guy. So we'll do copy, import this, and we'll just importing theme provider. And if we do this and we wrap around this guy, in the beginning you will not see anything. You need to do add specific component. So here you have like just a wrapper around the component, so you'll not see any changes in your application. And you'll see like a theme provider valid React element none must be returned. Okay, something, an array. Okay, so this must return an array. So let's do wrap around this guy. Let's see. Return undefined. Okay. Let's do it in our index.js, I guess, or we can do it here too. Let's do it in index.js. So let's get out of this guy. We save this, come back, and let's do in our index.js. It's complaining about it has to be wrapped around an single item. So what we'll do index.js. Like they were doing same here. You have this provider, and you wrapped around this inside like MUI theme provider and whatever component you have. And then you do like a render inside the app.js in the component in your index.js. We are doing the similar thing. Let's see what we were doing wrong. We have this theme provider. We have these guys. Let's try there again. Say app.js. Where is our app.js? Here. So in our index.js, so we will maybe wrap around to like this guy. So if you just wrap around and theme provider, so maybe we'll do here theme provider, and then we'll do this guy here. So we do this theme provider. So if you do this, let's see whether it complains. It was wrapped around, so it didn't complain, but it doesn't show anything nicer. Now we search for nice things. And so first thing we will do, like in the app bar, what we will do like create something like this. And you can look into the code. You can just click on the source, show source, and you need to import app bar. So if you go to like an all different component, you just need to bring one. So what we will do, we'll go to in our app.js. There, we will import app bar, and we will maybe copy their code, whatever they given us here. So this is just you create a like an app bar item. So even you can just type it other than copy app bar. You create this one, and if you do this by default here, you will see like a title bar with some exception. It's just for touch event handler. You can just provide one for touch if needed, or you can ignore it. But we'll ignore this guy right now. But you will see this. And if you want to have this title there, you just define, okay, I need to have this title. And then you pass this one Redux to do. And if you do this here, you see the title will appear there. You just save this guy. It comes nicely. So it becomes like a nice looking Redux to-do list. And whenever you have a good option, you will get rid of this. And then the second thing we will see is in this website here, what we have about is called raised button. So what we do, where is Mr. Raised button? We'll see, find this. Or the buttons. So if you go to the buttons, we'll get the raised buttons. Here buttons, and you have like raised buttons. And this is something like this button we want to create. So what we need to do, we'll get like a simple code, maybe this guy raised button. And we need to import it. So the nice way is like it's so modular. If you just need a button, it will just only load the button only for you. So we'll go to like add to do. And here we will import only the raised button. It will not import other codes. And here we will do like, and what it says is the raised button. You provide a label and you provide primary. So we can just copy this guy here, and this will put it a raised button. So we don't need the style. So we will get rid of this style. We just need to define this is primary, and then label would be like, okay, add to do. If you save it, now if you go to the browser, you will see a nice button added add to do. And so if we want to have the same on click on this, we will copy this here. Just as usual, we have like label as well as we have the primary. Now what we'll do, we will add the on click what we have the before. So if you do this, your on click would be added. If you type something add, if you add to do, it's added. So you have this one, and whenever we have a like a nice option, so if you got a like a nice boyfriend or nice girlfriend, then you will get rid of the older one. So that's the same thing we will do. We have a fancy button here, so we'll get rid of like the older one so that it doesn't came ugly. So, and whenever you get rid of the uglier one, it makes me sad because I am the uglier one too, but that's the reality. So we get rid of the uglier options and this one. And similar way, you can change the text box too. That would be the last thing we'll be doing. So let's look into the text field here. What we have here, text field, and you can copy any text field. So maybe we'll find this one is fancy, but this is password. That's fine. We will just copy this. We need text field to be imported. So we'll import the text field, and then we will just copy wherever is the password thing. And let's see, it's down here, password. So we'll just need to copy this. That's the best quality of a developer, to know how to do copy paste. So I did this. My type is here would be text. This is maybe like, okay, hint add to do. There's the hint text, and the floating text would be I'm adding to do or something. Okay, the promising of doing some work that I will not do anyway. So maybe like just simple to do. If you save this guy, you will see in the UI, you will have nice fancy button, add to do. and you can, now we need to do the last thing here to transfer it there. So we need to do, like, here we have a reference, so we'll create another reference here. So our reference would be, maybe we will do like a fancy input, and the fancy input is the reference, so we'll get the fancy input, and the fancy input has a input text box inside it, and you will do change here too, because you want to reset the value. And so like right now, if we do this, it will not change the values after reload. It will not change the values because this is clearing the previous one. So we'll change this one, fancy input, and then input. And so that's how, if we do this, if you, okay, close this guy, and this one, you see this is cleared. And once again, it's very sad, but if you got a fancy text field, you will get rid of this old buddy, old friend, or old partner. That's very unfortunate, but this is the reality that we did change. So this is the third part, and last part I would like to talk about a little bit about the native. Native React is like, will give you a nice way of doing it. If you are doing into iOS, or you are trying to do like an Android application, and the best way of doing it is to install something called Create React Native App. This is done by a supported by a organization or team of people, but this is really a good place to start with. And this is in their document, and this is a nice talk Adam did about how quickly, within like a few minutes, you can have a React Native app run, and then you can have like a install something called Expo. And this, when you run this application, it will give you a barcode, and you can just scan it in your Expo app. And then if your phone and your laptop in the same Wi-Fi, they would be connected, and you can debug in the browser. Because whenever you are installing like a SDK of like of your Android or Android Studio, it has a, like, I don't know, maybe 10 different settings you have to do to make it working in the simulator or emulator. And Export does it very nicely and easier way for you. So that's kind of like 1 hour 38 minutes. So now I will switch back to the question, and if you have any question, we will talk. And before I switch back to the one, I have 2 homework for you. First homework is to give subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is like YouTube/C/that JS dude. So if you go to this one and then you subscribe to this channel, so I make videos about, let's talk about how videos about tutorial like 50 DevTool tips or Angular 2. I'll be making another React one soon. And also, second thing you need to do is to visit the website that JS dude. It has nice interview questions or Angular interview questions. I would be adding more about React and few other things. And if you want to have any discussion with me, though I have like a token money charge for like a 30-minute discussion to any developer, if you just watch this webinar, I will just do it free. I just put $5 a token money to see whether people are interested to talk. But if you just refer to this webinar that, okay, I attended one of your webinar, it will be free for you. But if you want to discuss about React or any front-end related stuff, or your future career or interview question or anything, just send me an email, and you can set it time in Saturday or Sunday. So now we will go back to the live, and we'll get rid of the screen sharing. Let's see, and this, and then I will open the one whether there is any question or anything. Okay, so this is the guy you have been seeing all this time, and coming to the office to the Saturday, I will open another laptop to see whether there is any question from anyone. Okay, or maybe here there was a link provided by the provided by the, where is this question link? Let me find this question link. In the meantime, see whether any other question you have. So that's was a nice session. At least I enjoyed. I didn't saw your face, or if you are sleeping, I didn't told your mom to wake you up while you are sleeping while this webinar. So you had a good chance. But next time I will do maybe in person to make sure you are not sleeping in the session. And there is a link there as well as this link provided by the organizers. Let's open the link and see whether how many questions we have there. Okay, so many questions. And maybe we'll go for which kind of applications React is best framework. Should I use React.js or Angular? It depends. Like, we talked about this one before. Before. So React is like, if you are doing it depends on like application that you are building, as well as like applications that your team and then your understanding. So the Angular gives you like a total framework that has a defined way of doing how you do the HTTPS, how you do like RxJS, whether your team needs like a good learning curve for like knowing those reactive framework, because you need to know, say for example, in Angular application, if you want to do a table by using material, you need to know like how reactive subject works. And also if you do the template, you use more into their ways, where React gives you the power to use the JavaScript. So which one you will use will depend on your team, their familiarity, whether they know Angular ecosystem, those kind of thing. But I recommend React to the people who just learning new framework. It's easy to learn because you need to learn only the library part of the React. If you load the data, you can use ES6. You can use basic JavaScript. For looping through inside templating, you can use mapping in JavaScript. So you can use the power of JavaScript, and learning time will be smaller. For Angular, it will be a little longer because you need to learn more. So it depends on you and your team. So that's what. And if you don't know either one, I will recommend go with React. But if you have, boss says like we need to know the React Angular, for that you'd be starting a project on Angular for some reason, then maybe you need to learn Angular. So that's one question. And then second question I see. Second question I have, like, okay, to use immutable JS? Yes, if you are familiar with immutable JS, you can use it immutable JS in your DOM component. You can use this, and some portion you cannot use it completely because it will not be pure function everywhere. But that's the question like Shivam asked. You can use it, and a lot of people use immutable JS. If you are comfortable, you can use a portion of it with immutable JS. And Akash asked about like UI route for React. UI route is also good. It has like a good power. I used it a little bit. I used it for other framework, like with Angular application. That was a good one. And for here, usually like I see most of the people go with like React router. But yes, if you want to use UI route, it makes the parameter and few things easier. You can go there. But I personally will stick with React router. But if you are familiar, you can go there. And Shiba asked another question. What database is used here saving data? Local storage. For the demo app, yes, we use the local storage for saving data. It wasn't, and the application was hosted in Firebase, but the data was saved in the local storage. So if you have a session, data will stay in your application. For the Amazon, that the first I showed in the beginning of this session. Then Kushal asked a question, how does state operate? Does this use local state? No, state doesn't use local storage. State is just current situation of your application. Say if you want to, somebody have a cart was a good example, because I have a shopping cart and I might have 1 or 2 or 3. And if I don't want to save it anywhere, then it would be gone. So state doesn't have any relation with the storage unless you do it. But say a lot of application try to keep it. So for example, if you think about actual Amazon, they also, if you have some cart, they will keep it next time you visit it. But state in React is not stored anywhere. It's just the current situation. It's keeping track of the data you are changing or adding, or what is the current state. Then that Akshay asked a question. Dan is the creator of the Redux, says you shouldn't add Redux too early in application. Yes, exactly. That's what I told in the beginning, and I'm repeating once again. If you are making a simple to-do app or similar one, you should not use Redux. You should start with the basic React. That's why our first webinar was simple React. The application like Amazon, or even I told that if it is like 5 routes, and or five nested loops, then you not need like Redux. That's when Dan Abram has like a post that you might not need Redux. So you can definitely go through this article. There is few other that when you should go for Redux. If it is a simple app, definitely you don't need to go to the Redux, because Redux add 3 things to do a simple state change. But if you have like a large application, maybe 10, 15 people working for months, then you might need Redux. You will do those one. Aman asked a question that how much practice do you need to become a developer of your level? For me, a level practice is like you're doing stuff. So for me, it will take like, whatever I told you, you will maybe retain 1 or 2% of it unless you do it. So if you do it once or twice, then you will learn maybe 20, 30% of it. But rest part, you need to learn by redoing the same thing in different plots and then doing it in a enterprise set. So if you want to think about React, if you can build a simple application like Amazon of your own, and with my guidance or some tutorial, and then you can build another one without any guidance, looking into anything, just simple syntax search in the Google or something, you build it. Then if you are comfortable with the syntax 70 or 80%, you are good to go. And then you go to the enterprise or the work or job, and you learn rest of the stuff there. So that's what I would say. Like it's just like, it depends on like you're comfortable, you know stuff, and you can talk. And if you need to start something, you are comfortable to start, and rest of the things you can, you know that from where you need to learn. Where is the doc? Maybe you'll go through the doc. That's kind of things I would, maybe if you want to be very robust, you go through the docs, read it, and you know what are the different parts there. That's good enough. And later you can come back. Is Preact preferred over React? It depends. I try to use it. Preact is few good things is there. Preact isn't that bad, but like a lot of places like uses mostly React other than going to the Preact. But Preact solves few problem, style related and single stuff that React 16 will solve few of the problem. Right now React version 16 is in a beta mode, but in few months it will be released. So Preact is better, but I will not go with Preact for my enterprise application. But yes, yeah, you're happy to do that. How can you pass props to components? There's another question that somebody asked, that how can we pass props to component using React router? So you can pass when you are creating like a route. I didn't go through those detail. When you inside the router, when you create the route, you can pass more information other than the component. I will recommend you to like the home component, you can pass any properties. Even not only that, you can pass some dynamic parameters. Say for example, we did /shop/.1 or 2, it would be added to like say a props.params, it would be added. So I will say like just Google it. This is possible, you can do it. And Akshay asked another question. What steps should you recommend for a beginner to learn React Native? Okay, React Native is, if you know like mobile development, that would be a little different than if you don't know a mobile development, iOS or Android at all. So if you know that, that would be easier. You will find some tutorial that goes through with, I like React create React Native app with Expo. That's very easier. Or you can use like React Native docs to like do the setups. It's not that bad. So first I would say like find a platform. Do either say, okay, I would learn, even I'm learning Android or iOS. Do one, maybe Android or iOS, and then install it. And most of the time you might have some problem. You do it. Do a simple to-do app without React in your Android app or whatever app you do. Then try to do it in the React Native. Then you will see like the benefits or other stuff that I will recommend. And difference between Redux, Flux, and MobX. Okay, MobX, some people started with MobX, but I heard complain about MobX. And Flux is a pattern. So when React came, so it was a small library they use for a small project for Facebook, and people use it using a large application, and they find a problem that how you do the application. So Flux come with a pattern. Okay, if you do this way, then it works. If that's the way you will pass the data, do action, those kind of thing. And Redux just made Flux little better and took out little more concept. They are similar pattern, but I would say like Redux is more widely accepted. But and nobody much use Flux in enterprise application these days. MobX, I'm not sure recently, but previously I heard people complaining about MobX. So Minmoy asked a question: as a beginner to React, what study material would you suggest, or would you rather prefer start with building application? It's tricky. Like these days, learning new framework, like that's one thing I feel sad these days for the newcomer in the front-end development. To make it easier, they made actually harder for the beginners. Say, for example, if I go in the terminal and type create React app, my app, it just start and spin an application. It's very super easy, but it's a magic nightmare for a beginner. He doesn't know what's happening, what is terminal, maybe what is webpack, how is reloading, and few other things, the package ES6, and you need to know like the map and those kind of things, maybe module, those kind of things. So few days back, maybe 2 years back, I will definitely I usually starts with like a plain index.html and then add state and those things. But right now I will say like building application is easier, but don't start with building application. Rather start with what are the core parts, what they do. Then you connect together in an application, because you will not get the why part of it. You will know how part of it. If you just start with an application, you know, okay, that's how I set a state. But if you don't explore the state in the doc, maybe do the state, what are the things you do, you will not understand that why. So why understanding is important as a developer, so that you can apply it in other projects. Because learning is not only for the sake of learning. Learning is not for the sake of like putting things on your resume. Rather, learning is to put it into, definitely you will add it in your resume, but you will apply it in a project or do something with it. That's why I would start with the doc, learn about the core parts, repeat those, and then come back to building application. And another question has like Kushal asked like need review for to-do.js reducer. Review. Okay, I will do a review if I get time, but reducer one is, I will just tell, is like reducer is you are telling the Redux store what to do for this guy. If somebody asks for, okay, bring a cup of coffee. If your manager asks you, okay, bring a cup of coffee, he is just giving it a command. You need to know that how you to bring the coffee. Maybe you'll go to the break room or rather your kitchen and you made some coffee and come back. That's what is reducer does. So what we did our reducer was to like add a to do. Very simple one. That means we are adding one. So maybe we have like 4 to do before. We're just adding one more. So what we did, first we copied whatever there, and it was like a crazy syntax, 3 dot and the name of the state, and whatever state was there, we had like 4 to dos, and then we added one. just a plain object, and that has like a text that was provided by the action. And action, when we provided, had the text you provided in the action, if you remember the action object, or you can go to there. I actually have this code in my GitHub. So if you go to the GitHub, my GitHub, github.com slash count4019/redux to do, then you will get this code there that I have shown you. Maybe I will share this link to the organizer. They will post in the meetup page, and we'll get those. So the reducer does this work. And the second one is a little bit tricky. That was like you were looping through, and I was passing you an ID. So you take all the state and you go to the first one, whether, and checking whether it is matched with the ID I passed. No, then you just pass it. That was the OR condition. It matched. No, this one matched. So when it matched, we copied all the properties, plus we changed the completed one. Completed, if it is like false, we toggled it. That's why we put a bang sign in front of it to toggle it to become the second one. So that's what's the reducer. If it doesn't make sense still, you can set up another time, or like a one-to-one discussion sometime later that works, or send me an email. I will try my best to explain. Ganesh asked a question. I am asking this because I saw React Native in the content slide, how to notify user about the event in React Native. Okay, so if you want to notify, you have all the native host. This is like a native event. So if you just search for that, okay, how to get the other host APIs, the tag will look like all the tag, or everything you do, you will do push some notification. So you have like similar look and feel, but you say you do a paragraph in React. There you will do a text, something different that native supports. So that's push one. Also, you have access to all the events, and then you'll be able to do that. And okay, second question that Ganesh asked, like why the state parameter and array in the reducer function. This is like it's a collection of the reason it's an array. This is because it is a collection of to-dos that I wanted to create. So when I was passing the parameter, this one is a state I want to pass. The state property would be the to-dos, the name I am given, and to-dos, since this will be holding multiple to-dos, that's why I created an array. And that's why in future it becomes easier to, like, if you want to add one items, I can do by using an object with key if I want to use some Firebase way, but I wanted to keep it simple, not using add, because if I do it by a ID and then object, I have to look through it by the keys of this object and do it, and it becomes easier maybe to, like, familiarity or simplicity. That's why I choose that way. And Kushal asked a question that how does store operates? Does this use local storage? No, it doesn't use the local storage. It's just the state there. That's what the store uses in your application. And if you not do the detail, we need to go to the detail into the doc. Mukul asked the questions. Are we guys making web app or website using React? Yes, we are making. It's too late question, but yes, we are making a website. Is a web application we are making, and the difference is like a web app and website that doesn't cover this webinar, but in website is usually you say like, okay, simple website that doesn't do a lot of things. Maybe a static site, it doesn't change based on the user or based on the time, or doesn't take much of user input. Web application is like much larger thing. Like you think about Facebook, Twitter, that does a lot of interactions or keep data, do some dynamic thing. That's what I can tell right now in a quick 1 minute, but you can look for that because that's doesn't go match with what we are talking about. But web app is a larger thing. So website is a generic thing. So all website is a website, but web app is also website, but it does much more manage of the data, change, user, security, blah, 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 a lot of other things. And Pankaj asked a question, can we store and retrieve action state from database? Yes, you can do. And that was like even advanced level of Redux that we didn't have the time to do that. If you want to do like an async way, that's where you use something called Redux Saga. And so there's coming to another library, and there is another alternative is called Redux Thunk. But Thunk has some gets a little bit crazier. So if you want to do load data for your action or maybe initialize your state, you will do by using Redux Saga. So the next question is, where does React store the data? React doesn't store the data. You have to store your data. You have to define the stored data. In our webinar 1, we are storing data in the local storage. Redux doesn't store those data. And then Prashad asked question. Prashad asked just another question he asked is like, does React Native helps generating APK? Ionic, I don't know, but yes, you can create the APK for sure. It's similar to Angular Mobile, yes, but Ionic, I'm not much familiar. I can't like talk much about that. Krishna asked a question. Please explain import React. Oh, I see. Okay. This one is tricky, right? So import React, and this is ES6 way. If you import something from some module or somewhere, right, from React, and what do you do? This is the default they gave. If you have like, okay, let's go there. Right? Oh, I'm not sharing the screen, but I will hypothetically tell you, say, think about you have something from one place, you want to export multiple things, and you have some default one. So you have like 4 or 5 properties from our to-do actions. We are exporting multiple things. And if we want to import something, you can import something by the name. That works. Or if you put a kind of curly braces in between, so it is an ES6 way of like importing it as an object with property. So that's why you importing React. This is the question that Prashad asked, and I hope everyone else is like looking into it. This is a ES6 way to importing when you have, what would be the best way of, let me think the best way to explain it. So you have a bunch of things to export from a different file, and you are importing from there. If you want to import a simple method or simple item from there, you will import it by assigning inside an object. So if you put like 2 curly braces, anything inside, it creates an object with this property. And if you have something default from there, so in some cases, whenever we are doing this React one at the bottom, it does create a default export. So that's why for the first one, you see the first import React. This is the default export from the React module. And then on that same file has few other smaller pieces. That's what we are importing by using the component curly braces. And looks like I didn't explain it completely. If I have a code, sharing the screen would make it much easier. But at least first one is the default one. Second one is like you are from a lot of other things, you are importing only one thing called component. Or you can, other than if you don't want to do it, you just import the React and then you use React.component, then you'd be able to do the same thing. But this is just fancy way to confuse beginners. Okay. And what is the Redux router? How is it? Okay, Redux router is like makes your routing easier for a Redux application. It is definitely a little bit different to like a React router. React router is like more generic, and then it goes to like, how we do the component. And Redux router does the similar thing. And I'm not sure how long or how many people are like using that. But I have seen like people using React router more than people I talk with. But Redux router is like routing for like Redux application. And another question is like, is that React, that's asked by Harpreet is like, is that React Redux is stable? I'm facing many issues related to npm library version conflict. I think it's very stable. I've been using it. Other people are using it, and maybe you need to install a new version of npm. Try that. I don't know which version of npm you are using, and maybe you just there would be might be some conflict. But if you tell me the specific what conflict you are getting, maybe I can try to have a look into this later. And Harpreet, that's another question. When any state change, does it renders all the component of the current page? No, it doesn't. That's what is like React does in a proficient way. So they have a diff algorithm that we talked about in our first webinar, but we will explain it quickly here too. React is like if you have like 5 items in your DOM, and if it knows in your JavaScript, it does run a nice diff algorithm. And what it does, it knows, okay, only this item change. That's why it goes only update that part. And that's why whenever you do like a looping through and you have to pass a key, that's otherwise they will warn you. The reason of passing a key is that React knows that, okay, if you're looping through have like 10 items, 20 items, only one item change, React goes and update that. So React has a diff algorithm from the beginning, which was very fast. Now, recently they upgraded it, and it's called Fiber, but it would be coming in with React version 16. But it's not out for development, but it's in beta. And so we like been going through like a lot of other questions. So either you guys like the sessions, that's why there are too many questions, like 34, or you didn't understand anything. I wasn't able to explain it nice way, that's why there are so many questions there. But I hope that it was a good session. But if you have any other question, get back to me either via email or get back to the organizers. And the last thing I want to tell you is that like this session or any session tutorial that will help you when you start developing something of your own. Maybe you can do the same thing that I did, or you build something different, but there is nothing better than trying it yourself in your machine, and that's how you will learn. So it was a pleasure talking with you guys, and sorry to keep you up late at night, and have a good sleep tonight, and we will talk sometime. And you can always reach me through the website, thatjsdude.com. Take care.